Hi, this is Dawn. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And this is my first video of the project that Corinne from To Be Loved Treasures by Corinne and Susanna from Vintage Blend Studios have been working with us on through their YouTube channels all year, called Botanical Beauties. And every month they give us another flower. Some of it we've watched the girls painting and stitching and appliquing. Both of them are doing tablecloths. I didn't have a tablecloth that I could do that project on, but I did have a flowers journal and thought that I would make some pages that I could put into my flowers journal. So the first, and I just thought before I get started on this month's, last month's, July, because I'm very behind and we're now into August and we have the new prompt for August, but I won't go there. I'll leave the girls to talk about that. But from the start of the year, we had pansies in January. I had pansies in the garden that I went and had a look at and got a bit of an idea on how they sort of grouped and bunched together. I'm currently using fabric that I had eco-dyed and I have backed it for the purpose of just giving it some stabiliser. I think it's like a raw silk. It's a piece that I dyed a very long time ago, and I just had it in my stash and felt that it might add. My idea for this one was to do a little bit of experimenting on creating different types of flowers, and as you'll see, this was a piece of fabric I painted and appliqued on. This is some pieces of lace with a bit of ribbon embroidery, a bit of applique in these leaves, painting in these leaves, stitching around. Had a play with some ribbon, not really embroidery, ribbon work, let's call it that, with stitching and beads. And this was from an old doily that just happened to be in the right colourway. So that was my January page of pansies. The second one was cherry blossom, and I happened to have a piece of Japanese printed fabrics that had cherry blossoms on them. But these pieces are appliqued on. I painted them first, all of these bigger flowers. So they have painting and then stitching with some rayon machine embroidery thread, the very fine ones that I've used in a few other projects. Sorry, I'm just going to reach across and find one. Not the same colour, and they do that. They get horribly tangled as soon as you let them go. But the brand was Madeira mostly that I use. It's a viscose rayon. It's designed for the machine, so it's quite durable. But at the time that we were doing the cherry blossoms, I had a look at Japanese silk painting, a book on Japanese silk painting, and this rayon thread reminded me of it. So I just thought I would have a go with that just for something different, and then appliqued some of my Japanese fabrics in the background. March page was lilies, and some time ago I'd painted a art journal page with water lilies using little tiny pieces of fabric that I collaged into looking like lily pads. And so I went back and repeated that idea with the machine's rayon, machine embroidery thread, a little bit of hand stitching, a bit of painting in the background. And while I was doing it, one day looking through the op shop doilies, I found this one with a water lily on it. Actually, my friend Willie found it, and she goes, "Oh my God, here's your water lilies." And so I went, I just have to have that because it was like exactly at the same time. So I put it in while it's completely out of proportion to everything else. I just thought it was a bit of fun. April brought us roses, and at the time I was doing a mixed media class with Lally Mill, and it was doing some building up a collage background. It was with paper, drawing some roses on in just a pen and ink, and then adding some colour embellishment. So this was a piece of, and so that was the mixed media idea, and I thought, well, I can transfer that into stitch. While I didn't stitch the roses at all, that's only a pen and then some paint. I have completely overstitched, thread painted this piece of fabric that had a rose and leaves printed on it. This I needle turn applique on just for something a little bit different, to be quite honest. May was poppies, and it was not long after Anzac Day that, Anzac Day is the 25th of April, and I thought, well, it was just in my head, and I thought a field of poppies, so I decided to just go and get my normal sewing materials out of my collection, added a bit of fibre to create a field with tiny little circles just for the poppy. And they won't wear very well, but decided to do the same idea in a bigger one with some painted fabric. So there's a couple of layers, a organza layer, and this was just Bem silk lining that I'd painted over the top of. Just happened to have a bit of colour on here as well to make the seed head. And then June was fuchsias, and that's when I decided that I needed to really think about learning to do ribbon embroidery a little bit more than what I already knew, and followed just somebody on YouTube doing it, actually, whose name I can't remember, I'm sorry, but I was just learning ribbon embroidery and then looked at some pictures on how to do it. I have Jennifer Coulston's flower embroidery book that gives me lots of ideas as well, so between all of those I think I got something that looked a lot like fuchsias, and then just added other little bits and pieces to it, which I quite like doing in the background. And that brings us to July. And July is, I'm going to put these other bits away because I don't need them in the story anymore, is tulips. And when I started to look for pictures of tulips, I kept coming up with pictures of lead light windows with tulips in it. And a long time ago I used to do lead lighting, not that I ever did tulips, but I did a stylised flower, and I thought, maybe that might be a good idea to do something like that, because that gives me the chance to add fabrics around a border and make a border out of it. And then I found a piece of old, it's probably a serviette, that I thought I will stitch and draw my tulips on. So that's what I'm going to work on today. I certainly won't complete it by any stretch of imagination, but I'll get the makings of it done. This piece of trim I dyed the other day I have an extra video on a play day of painting on fabric, and this was a piece of trim that I did in that video, which is a sort of murky green colour really, but I thought it might actually look quite nice where there might have been lead between the window pieces. That's all I painted, so that's all I've got at the minute, unless I try and repeat it, and probably won't get exactly the same colour. Should have thought better of that and done a lot more, but had I known it was going to turn out as nice as it did, I probably would have. But anyway, that's the luck of the draw sometimes. In case you can see all these little pinheads here, I'm sorry if that's annoying to you. You can't even see what I'm talking about, but that's to stop me from going. Good, well that's good, I'm glad you can't see them, but here, that's to stop me going off screen because I have a bit of a habit of doing that. Cool. All right, so can you see that bit though? Yes, you can. Very good. So I just collected out of my scraps different neutrals. Going to keep it fairly neutral in the background. It's kind of a shame to cover this up, but it is hard to draw on, so it's just the way it is with this one. I've got my iron beside me so that I can iron off some of these fabrics to just give me a neater finish. Not that I always worry about it too much, but just sometimes it's nice. And so I thought if I just have a go at doing this, I don't really know how I want it to go until I get it going, so bear with me with that one. But places like this is where I thought that I would add the trim like it's going to be a piece of lead between the two. I will stitch all of these down. I quite like Canthor style stitching. I think it really helps it to make look like one piece of fabric. So the middle is going to be quite white, which is where I'm going to do. So I'm going to do some sketching, painting, and then a little bit of fabric embellishment over the top of the tulips. That's kind of my vague idea. I'm thinking I'll have 3 tulips. So I've just sketched an outline of basically where they're probably going to go on here. So I need, that to be around that size. And this is very, very hit and miss measuring, but it's going to give me a vague working space until I get to finish it. I'll use my Inktense pencil, so it's takes up quite a bit of room, doesn't it? So I'm not going to have a huge amount of border going on. But I quite like these bits here. They do remind me of lead light because often lead light edges have, the border around the window is made up of little components, and I thought that might look quite nice like that. I don't know if I want it to go there or there, but probably both, because that's what lead would do on a window. It would go right across. Anyway, we can think about that as we go along. It doesn't have to be done right at this very second. So that's my thinking about how I'm going to tackle this. Is that the same colour as that? Maybe. Could be. All right, do it the other way. Do it that way. Yeah. So that probably is okay, I think. I've got some, keep bringing this piece of fabric out. I found this accidentally in my stash, which was great, but it has some really nice tulip shapes on it for me to probably copy and make my own. I don't have a book with flowers in it that I can copy off with tulips other than a photograph. And I would prefer a drawn image just because that will give me some lines to draw as well. So yeah, I think maybe I'm going to go with this and possibly have it like a border. I don't know. All right, I'm going to get cracking on getting some fabric cut here, pinned down, and then I'll start drawing. So what I might do is pause you right now and I'll be back. Okay, bye. Okay, I'm back. The reason I haven't sewn the pages together, in case you're wondering, is it just makes it a bit easier to manage because they're going to go back and front with each other to hide the stitching. So, all right, I think I've got my layout sorted, how I think it could look, and hopefully that's all right. I worked out with the serviette that I quite liked this edging here, even though it's not necessarily lead light edging. I really like that Art Nouveau kind of look with the swirls and things as well. So anyway, that's where I'm getting my ideas from. I'm definitely going to use little bits of this green trim in here because I quite like the look of it. And so I'm just going to stitch it down. I'll just chat on for another 10 minutes. And, you know, just in case people who are watching may not have started tackling this type of layout before, where putting fabric down, stitching it with usually a cotton that you can't see, or it's disguised, it's not making a feature, but you could do a feature thread as well. And I'm struggling with it a little bit because I kind of want to do that, but I've just picked up, this is just a normal sewing cotton and it disappears, so that's good for an invisible stitch. But I've also got this little bit of crochet cotton here. It's still quite fine, thicker than sewing machine thread, but not overly thick, and it's a bit brighter, and I'm kind of leaning towards that because that's what it will do. I'm going to stitch it in lines like that, single stitches, but yeah, in lines going across. Sometimes in glass you see those lines. Just keep thinking about that one. I know it's not glass, but the reason I wanted it to stay neutral was I wanted the tulips to be the feature, not the background to be the feature, or to dominate, or whatever. So yeah, I thought I'll just come back and do a quick little chat while I stitch. I'm not as fast as some people who stitch on their videos. I'm a bit slower than some, but that's all right. The first part was only 15 minutes. I had a quick look at that, so I'm happy if I do this for another 15 minutes. In saying that, I probably need to know what I'm looking at. Goodness, I don't even know where today's gone. It's 20 to 3 in the afternoon and it feels like 10:30 in the morning. I've done heaps in the house. I finished my Alice in Wonderland panel early this morning, and then I really needed to do something in my sewing room because I just had things from one end of the place to the other, and 3 and 4 projects all going on at the same time is just silly. And so yeah, I thought I really need to be a little bit more organised. I feel like in my videos sometimes I would say things like, well, I'd show you if I could see it, but I can't see it, so I can't show you, and it just feels a bit silly in the end saying that all the time. I don't know, maybe that one. Sometimes I like long needle because then I can do quite a bit in one hit. But I'm just going to do this in an invisible thread first, and then stitch, and then make my mind up as to whether or not I want to have a feature stitch as well as the bit of extra trim. It's quite a bit of work if it's not really necessary. An invisible stitch is coming from the back, taking a little weeny tiny stitch and a longer one on the reverse side and coming up again. Then a little stitch on the front, a longer stitch on the back, and you just keep repeating that. So I'm just going to do that all around the outside edges. I'm not going to go through the middle because I really am thinking that by the time I get the piece of doily on that doesn't have, that I won't be doing this too. I'll just be doing an edge on that one. You're not going to see all those other stitches, and then it's almost feels like there was not a lot of point in doing it, and I don't need to add bulk if I don't need to. I did mention that I've got just a fabric stiffener, just a fine one on the back, just to give the fabric a little bit of body. I prefer to do stitching like that. Sometimes I'll add a one that's, it's got a bit more bulk to it, like a wadding, pelham or parlane. Just depends on whether or not I've got a lot of embroidery stitching going on. I need to turn my work. Some people don't. I do. I cannot stitch backwards. I'm hopeless at it. And so I'm just going to come down. I forgot I'm only going to go around the edges, aren't I? Here's why my book's not put together, because I need to hang on to it somehow or other. Scrunch it all up and work my way back down to the bottom. But that's really why I haven't completed these sort of signatures, if you like, yet, until I've got these all completed. And I think they'll go in signatures of 4 rather than do it in one big lot of 12. I think it's too much with the extra fabrics between, that's buttons and all sorts of funny things in. Some of my stitches aren't so teeny tiny on the front, but I don't think you can see them, so it's not really mattering too much. Yeah, so that's the plan of attack at the minute. Sometimes what I've done, instead of, I've just done a stitch like that you can see, rather than do all of this invisible stitching, but I actually want this to sit down, because the bit in the middle, is, I don't want it having too much bulk behind it. I'll embroider it separately and then stitch it on once it's done, because I want to paint on it and do some line drawing and probably do some fabric applique, some beading. I know there's only 3 tulips and probably 3 or 4 leaves, but that's where the embellishment's going to go. So once that's done, then I'll stitch it onto here. But I just thought, if I just give you a little demo, I'm making an assumption that people know, but you never know. There might be someone new who's found me and has no idea what invisible stitching is all about, and what slow stitching is even all about. So rather than confuse them, I thought I'll come and do a little demo. For those of you who, oh no, I did mention it before, didn't I? Forgot that I've already done a bit of videoing. The Botanical Beauties project, that was what I was going to say. As soon as I started to say it, I remembered that I'd given you a little bit of that info earlier. So I think these might be a couple of extra videos, but shorter ones, rather than trying to do it all in one hit. I think that's a lot, and might be more interesting if I keep coming back. But I did want to show you where I was going with this, so you knew. So then I can start taking pins out once the invisible stitching's done and it's you know, a little easier to manage to hold on to. And I have thought, you know, each page is so different that I'm just doing really, it's kind of an experiment of flowers and how I could achieve a particular effect. I've never thought of doing it in this lead light fashion. While I certainly have pieced together backgrounds I haven't necessarily considered as lead lighting, and how quite, you know, the lines are very straight, and I thought, oh yeah, actually it might be something that's a bit different. And then again, may not look any good at all, and I might be going, what was I thinking? But right now, while I can kind of visualise it in my head, I think it'll be all right for what I want for this, because as I said, the background isn't the embellishment, it's the tulips that are going to be the embellishment. They're going to be the standout. And in lead lighting, when there's a particular pattern like that, the background is quite plain. It might have some pieces of glass in a geometric pattern or a very lineal pattern in the window, and then the decoration is built into and around those straight shapes. So I thought, oh, that just sort of appealed to me, to see whether or not I could have a go at that. Gosh, I didn't even know that thread didn't all go through there. All right. So that's my first step. My second step is to attach this, and I have to be a bit mindful of how much I've got, because I haven't got very much. What I actually might do, and I think that is going to be the size that I'm going to do it. Yep, let's just bite the bullet and cut that. Hopefully I cut it reasonably straight. Got a bit of a fold happening. Good. Any little bits that I can just straighten up if I need to. I think that probably could do with a little bit of a straighten there. Good. And I think that little bit of extra just embroidery that's on there is quite nice. All right, I'm going to pin that on, because then I'm going to work out how much of this green trim I'm going to use. And as I said, because there's not very much, what I was trying to decide then, why I ummed, is the position, and my design training has, every now and then it comes nagging at me that it's good to have a weightier bottom. That's where you want the heaviness to be, rather than stuck up in the middle. Oh, there's a little bead there. Goodness, there you go. And how long that's been sitting there for. Yes, so it's not good to be heavier at the top and lighter at the bottom. Apparently help it to be grounded. Whether or not that makes any difference in stitching, I have no idea, but that was just a thing that came into my head, which is why I hesitated with it. Will I put it up the top? Will I put it down the bottom? I wouldn't normally do a central thing like that, just I would normally have some things off, but that's where I'm going with this. Good. Now I'm just going to tuck that in there because I haven't got enough to go all the way around. Sorry, I'll just shut that off. My mum messaging me. I haven't got enough to go all the way around the edge, so I thought what I might do is use an embroidery thread. So I went looking to find one that matches, and I actually have to use that to stitch this on with because I don't have the sewing thread to match it. I'm just can't decide that I have it all the same way or like that. Like that. All right, let's just cut it and then have a play with it because then I can do the next one. So if I cut those off about there, then will I do that again or will I do them all the same way? I don't know. Let me see. God, I don't know. I don't know. Yep, there's one bit that goes in there. Maybe they all need to go the same because I think it's going to be a bit overwhelming otherwise. I actually don't even think that I need that green around the edge of it. I'll make that decision down the track too. Oh well, if this green looks silly, I've got lots of little bits. Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted it to look like, so that's good. At least I've got it looking the way I thought it was going to look. That's perfect. No, for goodness sakes. There. Yeah, I think all going the same way makes a little bit more sense to it. Yep. Hopefully you agree. Hopefully you're not yelling at me going, no, what are you thinking? Which I do with some people. I go, oh my God, what were you doing? Don't do it. So when I make a radical decision like this, I don't stitch it down. I wait for a little while and have a think about it and look at it, and sometimes I walk away because it is a bit more radical than normal, and I think I like it. I know that sounds crazy, but I think I like it. So I'm not going to do anything with that yet. But what I will do is have a little play with a stitch just for 5 minutes, 10 minutes maybe. This was my vague idea, so I was thinking one tulip standing up, one tulip down a bit, and then one tulip here, and then a few leaves coming up around it. That's my thought about it. The tulip that I thought that I'd get a little bit of inspiration from are these ones that you can't even see, so I don't even know why I'm showing you. There we go. These ones here. I quite like this frilly sort of tulip. It's strange. I had a bit of a discussion with my friend and we were talking about frilly tulips and straight tulips, and we don't tend to see as many frilly ones. We do see a lot of straight ones. Where this is a erasable pen. I think I got it from the supermarket. So you can pretty much get them anywhere. Apparently they'll rub out with a rubber off the paper. I haven't tried, but you can iron it out. And I don't live in a cold enough climate that some people have commented in the past that, so I'm just going to have a go at this one here, and I quite like that. But anyway, some people have said when it gets very cold, it comes back, the erasable ink reappears. It hasn't happened to me, and I'm still prepared to have a play with it. So I'm hoping that I'm not telling you any fairy stories, but I guess it's one of those things that you have to have a go at yourself. Some people use the ones that are erasable with water. Oh, this looks like a very big tulip, doesn't it? Yep, that's too big. I wasn't even concentrating on what I was doing then. I've got the iron ready to go. Because I had a feeling that I might be doing this, and I had a feeling I might need that iron. All right, settle down, girl. Just do it a little bit smaller, okay? Just a little bit smaller. Oh, it doesn't even want to work on the warm fabric, maybe. So one of these is going to stay in a sketchy form, is what I thought. They're all going to be painted, and then they're going to have, a couple are going to have some fabric, sort of like, oh, I've done it again. I keep coming down too low. You know, collage fabric stitched on it. All right. I think it goes around there somewhere like that. With a stalk that's going to come through there. When I outline it with a permanent pen, I'll be able to get rid of these scratchy lines here. But I think that nearly looks like the way I wanted it to look. So now I've just got to do a second one that I think won't be quite as detailed, and I might have a go at this one here, which I may be able to repeat. Yeah. So what I thought I'd do here is get the background finished stitching, and then get these drawn out in permanent pen. That one probably could have been a bit higher. Oh, it's all right. I can change my mind. I can easily change my mind. And so he's going to come down here. And then one more. Almost a but'd be good, wouldn't it? What about that little one? That might be all right. Can you see him? There. This one here. All right. I'm going to get the bottom in so I know not to go too silly. But the thing that I have noticed is that they grow low, tulips. They don't grow, up to the sky. And they don't have a very long stem. Some don't anyway. And so I'm hoping that by doing it this way, I'll make it sort of look proportionally right. Cool. And so he can have his stem coming down here. I think we can have a one leaf. Oh, let's find a leaf that I quite like the look of. And so I'm not feeling too horrible about copying because I'm changing it so much. You know, I haven't traced it. It's my own hand. It's just giving me that inspiration. And yeah, I don't think there's an artist around that wouldn't get their inspiration from something. May not always be somebody else's artwork, but yeah, I think and I'm not selling it. It's me, although I'm probably putting it on here, so hopefully I'm not breaking any rules, because that wouldn't be great, would it? I think we can have a leaf coming up behind him. And maybe another one coming up from here, possibly. It might end up going out to there a little bit. And then this one coming in here. So that's kind of my idea. All right, I'm going to go away. What I'm going to do is trace it off with a black pen, a permanent pen, iron off this stuff. I'll put extra sketch marks in and get my paints ready. Okay, I hope you've had a great day, having a great day, about to have a good day, whichever that might be. See you later. I'm back for a couple of minutes because I'm not sure when I'll be able to get back to videoing. I've got a busy day tomorrow, and so I thought I'll just do a couple of minutes here to show you where my head is. I've finished sketching my tulips on with a permanent marker, and now I'm just thinking about laying some little bits of fabric on from my stash to sort of add a bit of interest after I've painted. I haven't really considered the shape exact. I'm just having a play with it because I think that the next time I come back I might have done a bit of this. But just to show you just where my head is, I'm going to paint a little bit of the tulips, but I thought before I do that, and I'm only painting it because I think it will just give me a bit of colour underneath if I don't get everything. I'm just using my Inktense blocks. I've used this darker pink and a little bit of this red to sort of just give me a colour that I think I'm okay with. I'm going to try on this little piece here, which is the same fabric that I've got the tulips on, just to see what it does, because it may not be exactly what I want. I don't want it to be very wet because I actually don't want it to bleed too much. So, sorry, I've got it mixed up here on my little china plate, so that, and it goes on great. It goes through. The serviette was well washed prior to me, and so I think I'm happy with that. I don't want to paint the whole thing. I only want to, so I've just laid these bits in on here because I just wanted to show you what I was going to do when I'm not videoing. So yeah, so I don't want to paint the whole thing. I only want to paint bits of it so that if it doesn't get covered completely by fabric, it's not really going to matter. I want to leave some highlighted areas that I can use the lace on. And yeah, I just thought I'd show you what I was doing. That's me. I might need a little bit more here going on here. What I do is I spray my blocks to sort of activate the colour, because going on dry, sometimes you don't get as much of the ink that you might want for one painting session. And so, can you see? No, of course not. I'm off the screen again, always off the screen, gosh. But on my little china plate, I collect these from the op shop because they make a fantastic palette. I don't know what you would use it for in your home, but I love them for a palette. All right, I'm happy with that. I didn't want red and I didn't want pink. I just wanted something a little bit in between. Trying to keep this on screen for you. I'm only going to do 2 of the... Oh, that was a lot of water on that one. Glad that I did that in the middle. You do need to be careful when you're doing it, because if it's too wet, it will bleed out. And if you don't want it to bleed out, I would suggest starting inside your shape rather than close to the outside edge, because it may very well bleed out. And if that's not the look you're looking for, you'll be horribly disappointed. And it's bleeding here with the water, and I'm, you know, I could be disappointed about that. But for now, I'm coping with it. And let's see what happens when it dries. But just to sort of give you, I'm not trying to colour the whole thing in, because I'm going to use fabric, and there might be spots that the fabric won't cover, because I'm only using, you know, these tiny little scraps, whatever I did with them here, these tiny weeny little scraps that I'm going to stitch down and add to my shapes. I thought I would leave this one not with anything, just with that sketchy outline with the permanent pen. The pen that I've used this time is an Artline. It's drawing system, pigment ink, water-based, water-resistant. It's a number 3. Shikahata Artline, a 0.3. It's black. And just because I wanted to make sure that it wouldn't bleed once I start playing with a bit of water here, which, you know, it could have done, but it didn't, so that's good. Yeah, so like I said, I'm not going to touch that one for now. Whether down the track I change my mind, I don't know, but so long as you don't go too close to the edges, you should be okay with it not bleeding beyond that point. And like I said, I'm only doing this to highlight areas that may not have a bit of fabric attached to it. And I'll do the same thing with the leaves. So the next time I come back, which is why I wanted to show you all these scrappy bits, is that I'll probably be working on that. Tomorrow's slightly busy day, Friday that is for me. I don't know if I'll put this up. I might put this video up tonight. I've already done one today. I'm on a roll. But I'm going to have my grandson here. He's not been well this week, and his mum's teaching at school tomorrow, so he was diagnosed, tested positive for influenza A, which has not been nice for him. Hasn't given it to anyone else, so that's good. So I said he can come and sit here on the couch and watch some videos or play with my iPad, which will prevent me from doing a video. That's all right. It'll give me a chance to do a couple of other things that I haven't done today, because today's been a video day. And oh, bugger. I just painted that one and I didn't want to paint that one. Well, now it's painted, so that's that. It might just only stay painted. Gosh, I was not concentrating then. I was thinking about having my day tomorrow with my grandson and not concentrating on what I was doing. Good-o. That's good job. Great job so far. I can't believe I just did that. All right, well, now it's painted, so let's just stick with that. I'm not going to do it again. I'm going to have a go at this yellowy greeny colour here, because that's the colour of the fabric. Sorry, can you see? No, yeah, now you can. I can't believe I painted that leaf, that tulip. Oh my goodness. There you go. It just is what it is. It is what it is. That's going to leave it black and white. Never mind. Best laid plans. All right, so I'm just going to do these stems. I have to do them all now. Like I said, if I don't make it too wet, it will certainly soak into the fabric, but I just don't want it to keep on bleeding outside the lines. And again, I'm going to be adding bits of fabric to it so that it makes a collage type effect. All I'm doing is adding colour underneath to be there. If I don't, I might just add a little bit more water to that. Just water it down a little bit. I made that quite thick. Maybe I'll leave that leaf because that was going to go over that edge. Oh, well, I'll think about that one. And so if I only have the paint here, where I put the fabric, that may appear lighter. Hopefully, that's the design thought. Probably not the exact colour of tulip leaves. They're probably darker, but I think I can achieve that with the fabric. Good. The sun's just going to come in through that window now. It's later in the afternoon. I've been playing here all day. My husband had his next COVID booster shot, whatever, yesterday. He's feeling a bit secondhand today. He said to me he wasn't feeling great. So it might be a couch potato night, and that's all right. We can manage that. You know, I've looked at this and gone, I think it could be a bit more green. Which green will I choose? Let's just see what that does. Oh, yeah, good. Yeah, that's probably probably slightly better. Can you see? No, of course you can't see. There. I'm picking this one up here. I'm just adding that to what I've had. These little china plates are great. They just, the paint just washes off it, especially watercolour. It doesn't stay there forever, so which is good. I think we'll add a bit of that dark down the bottom. just to give it a bit of light and shade, but the fabric will do that anyway. When I add the bits to you know, to applique on. I don't want to make it too wet. It's going through. I'm not trying to flood it. It's just doing its own thing, which I'm hoping will prevent it from bleeding. If it bleeds out, I guess it does, but it's you know, supposed to look watercolory. Feels like there should be something going on under here, but I don't know. Maybe that's another leaf in there and I can just give it a bit of colour in there. Cool. All right, well, this definitely is me. I'm going to add some bits of fabric to this piece to make it a collagey piece, whether that goes there or whether that goes there. My intention is to add some other threads and beads so that I've got a bit of interest going on. I just picked up some fabrics that I had, really. Just don't know where I'll put them yet. Will they go there? I don't know. When this dries, I will wash it. Oh, I'll wash it. I'm not going to wash it at all. Just ignore me now because it's the end of the day. I'm going to iron it. That's what I'm going to do. Set the inks. Hopefully they will be fine. I don't see that there's going to be a problem at this stage, apart from the fact that I coloured all 3 tulips and I only want to colour 2. Good. All right. I'll talk to you again soon. Okay, bye.